Welcome back. House Appropriations Committee Republicans are saying that FEMA has enough funding in the short term to address immediate needs for both Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. In a memo, they also write that there is no funding connection between the migrant shelter program and the disaster relief fund, and that there is, quote, no intermingling of funding between these two programs. But House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said yesterday he wants FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell to testify next month about the federal government's response to both storms. Watch this.
We have a lot of questions for FEMA, and I don't think anyone in Congress in either party can answer specifically where they spend their money. I certainly plan on bringing the FEMA director in mid-November. We don't want to do anything to hinder the efforts that are ongoing now, but I think a lot of these questions hopefully will get answered in the middle of November. At the end of the day, I think we need to have a complete review of FEMA, just like we did with the Secret Service when the House Oversight Committee brought in Kimberly Cheadle.
Joining me now is Georgia Congressman Andrew Clyde, a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the Subcommittee on Commerce, Justice, and Science. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And didn't Congress just authorize more money for FEMA in the most recent continuing resolution?
Well, good morning, Maria. Absolutely, Congress did. FEMA ended the year September 30th with $1.8 billion in their disaster recovery program, their natural disaster program. And Congress just appropriated another over $20 billion to FEMA. So FEMA has over $22 billion available to them. So there's no way in the world that FEMA is running out of money here in early October.
So why did the head of the entire division, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, tell us just last week that FEMA was running out of money?
Well, I think in my experience with Secretary Mayorkas, it's difficult to know when he's telling the truth and when he isn't. But this particular individual just has never been forthright, I think, to the people or to Congress. It's a scare tactic, in my opinion. You know, FEMA has enough money. What they don't have is enough solid, good leadership.
Well, I also want to talk to you about this this worry that there, in fact, is intermingling with this money. I understand the Republicans are saying that these are two separate funds, but why did Karine Jean-Pierre tell us 2 years ago that FEMA was going to be helping and FEMA money was going to be helping illegal immigrants? Watch this.
FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants. We'll continue to do what we can as a federal government to support these cities as we rebuild our asylum processing system after it was gutted by the Trump administration.
So, Congressman, which is it? Did they use FEMA money to pay and care and house illegal migrants?
Oh, absolutely. They use FEMA money. You know, whether it's two different pots of money or not is irrelevant. I think what the Biden-Harris administration has done is they have twisted the mission of FEMA, and now they're using FEMA money to support illegal aliens coming into this country. That should never be the mission of FEMA. You know, they should be supporting Americans and those who are here legally when a disaster occurs, when a natural disaster occurs.
So then why are the Republicans on the appropriations saying, no, they did not intermingle funds? Well, we just heard specific details from Karine Jean-Pierre. You just confirmed they did use FEMA money for the illegal migrants, but they're saying they didn't. So are they lying?
Well, I would tell you that the administration is going to tell you whatever they want, they think you want to hear at that particular time. But it's all FEMA money. And this program that they're using for the illegal aliens, this migrant shelter program, should never be part of FEMA. That is a twisting of FEMA's mission, in my opinion. And in our Republican appropriation for DHS, we actually stripped money from that account for FY25 the way it should be.
Meanwhile, you know, many of these people have been unvetted. You also had, of course, the Afghanistan withdrawal, which was completely botched, and Afghans coming in this country as a result. Now we have this news. An Afghan national who was allowed into the country shortly after the Biden-Harris administration's botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Well, he's been charged. Yesterday, he was charged with plotting an ISIS-inspired terrorist attack in America on Election Day. This is according to the DOJ. He had been living in Oklahoma City on a special immigrant visa as he stockpiled AK-47 rifles and ammunition to carry out this attack. He was one of the more than 70,000 Afghans granted humanitarian parole to enter the U.S. after the Afghanistan withdrawal. Vice President Kamala Harris said she was the last person in the room for the Afghanistan withdrawal. She dodged more questions about the border crisis on The View yesterday. Watch this.
There remains this perception among voters that the Biden administration dragged its feet and waited too long to act to address the border crisis. Can you speak to why voters may feel that way?
The first bill we offered, before infrastructure, before bringing down the cost of prescription medications, it was to fix our broken immigration system. And it never got taken up, in large part for political reasons. But then, to your point, a bipartisan group of members of the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members, work together with our support to craft the most serious and strong border security bill we've seen in years.
Yes.
Donald Trump got word of it and told them, don't put the bill up for a vote, because he didn't want a solution. If we want a real fix to this, Congress has to act.
Yeah.
Congressman, your reaction to your vice president there?
Well, first off, the president and the vice president totally own this border crisis. It's their making, whether it's the Afghan border crisis or the southern border crisis. Both of them are the responsibility of this administration. They need no additional power to secure our borders. They have all the executive authority that they need to do that, just like President Donald Trump did under his administration. But, you know, this just goes to show you, with this Afghan being arrested, you have a serious problem here with the vetting of these Afghans that have come in. It's a complete abuse of the parole program.
Well, it's not just the Afghans not being vetted. I mean, after all, we have encountered, 350 people or something on the terrorist watch list who have been encountered at the southern border. We've got hundreds of thousands of people who have been let into the country who've already had convictions, like the 13,000 who've been convicted of murder, or the 15,000 who've been convicted of a rape. Now, you introduced this new act, No Guns for Illegal Aliens Act. It sounds like that would be something that we would want, that would ban illegal migrants from using government-issued IDs to buy guns. Are you getting any pushback? Will your Democrat colleagues sign that one or no?
Well, I hope they do. You know, this is just common sense. Illegal aliens are not supposed to be, they're not allowed to have firearms in this country. But yet, when they get government-issued IDs and when they come in through the parole program, all right, then there's a way for them actually to do that. So this particular bill prevents any sort of a ID, a government-issued photo ID, from being given to an illegal alien and then being used to legally purchase a firearm in this country. I think it's a very, very important thing, you know, and this arrest that we just saw of this Afghan who came into this country under the special visa program is a perfect example of someone who should never have a firearm. All
right, Congressman, we'll be watching your work. We so appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, Andrew Clyde, for joining us. And by the way, Mahek, you said the same thing that the Congressman said. It doesn't matter that it's two different funds. It's FEMA money.